Hi everyone. I wanted to talk about a tactic that I see from time to time happen in my games. So look at the position. I'm white here. It's black to move, and you'll notice that white has a bishop and queen battery against this h7 square, which the knight on f6 is currently protecting. So what white would like to do is decoy that knight. He would like to play knight to g4 and either capture the knight on f6 or have the knight on f6 capture our knight, and then we can get access to that h7 square. And there might even be a mate in the air because we have a rook on the e-file here, and if we get the queen to h7 and the king moves over, then queen to h8 would be mate. So because of that, the best move for black to defend against that is to play h5 and simply guard the g4 square. And then black is doing okay. The engine scores the position about a plus 0.9. But my opponent didn't play that move. He didn't see the danger. He played c5, a blunder, and now the score goes to plus 3.4. And I follow through with my plan, knight to g4. And just to illustrate what might happen, if he takes my knight, that's going to be a mate in 2, check, and then mate. If he doesn't take my knight, he's still in danger. For example, if he just makes some move like c takes d4, then I'm going to take his knight, and that's a fork, a king and queen fork here, so he has nothing better than to take, but then he's going to get mated again anyway. Okay. So he has a big problem in this position after knight to g4. There is no really good defense. The computer suggests moving king to f8 so that when the queen comes to h7 it will not be with check. After king to f8 I can take the knight, we trade knights, and then play queen to h7 anyway, threatening a mate on h8. But queen to g5 defends, and then check, block, and I would grab a pawn, a key pawn here, and I'm up a pawn, and the king on f8 is still very vulnerable. Maybe queen to d6 check is a threat. And then if the rook blocks, we win the rook, so we're going to flush the king out this way. We might win this pawn. We might continue to attack. So it's looking good for white anyway. So that didn't happen in the game. Instead, after knight to g4, my opponent tried the defense rook to e6. He probably saw the mate and wanted to stop my rook from accessing the squares here on this file so his king can get out behind his rook and avoid that mate. But the game proceeded like this. I took the knight. Notice I'm forking the king and the queen, so he has to take the knight back. But he cannot take with the rook because there's a mate in 2 again. Okay, I've got the e file covered. So he has to take with the pawn instead. But then I have this check, king to f8, and then I take this pawn with check, and then king to e7. And now I'm attacking. I'm up a pawn, I'm attacking, his king is vulnerable, and I continue with bishop to e4. Okay, and his queen moves aside and protects the bishop behind it. I trade bishops to lure his queen away, and then I take the rook. I'm trying to break open the king here in order to attack. I can get my other rook on a1 into the game. Notice he cannot take back with the pawn because there's a skewer here. He loses his queen. So he has to come up with the king here, and that makes him more vulnerable. Rook to e1 check, king to d5. So there wasn't much better than king to d5. There really is nothing to do here. He's practically losing already. There might be a mate in the air somewhere. But I played queen takes f6, trying to get the queen and rook coordinated. I notice he has an escape square here on c4, which is going to prolong the game, so my eye is on that. He plays rook to c8. That makes my job really easy, I think, because I saw the move rook to e7, which is a double threat. I'm threatening his queen, but I'm also threatening now queen takes the pawn on f7, which is going to guard that c4 square, and his king will have no escape. So he moves his rook to block the attack on his queen, but now there's a mate in 2. I take the pawn with check. There's only one or two legal moves, king to d6 or king to c6, but they both lose to queen to e6 mate. So it's a tactic to watch out for, or to arrange yourself. Try to make that happen. Thanks for watching the video.